Good evening and welcome to Telling Tales. Here we tell atmospheric stories together through the medium of tabletop role-playing games. It's Monday evening, which means that we are playing Vaesen, Mythic Britain and Ireland. We are onto our third arc and it's trundling along nicely and excited to dig into more of it. Before we get started, I'll do some promo stuff. So things that we links below the video to our YouTube if you're watching on Twitch, or Twitch if you're watching on YouTube, our social media, our Discord, which you can join and come and chat with us and the other people who enjoy watching things and are involved in the channel. And our Patreon. So if you enjoy what we do, you can support us through there. Other things that we do on the channel are Simba Room, which we run on Wednesday night. And now a couple of one-shots on different weekend days in the month. But the best place to get updates on when those are is through our Discord. The next one is next Sunday, the 14th of May. And I'm going to be running a Meatloaf Bat Out of Hell themed RPG adventure of my creation. It's going to be a lot of fun, I think. But back to the world of 19th century Victorian folklore in another universe. Let's do recaps for last week. So let's bring on Justin, who plays Gail Mosling Forsmark. Hey, Justin.
Hello. How's it going?
Good. Are you?
Yeah, brilliant.
Good.
Looking forward to playing some Vaesen.
Good. So at the end of the previous session, there had been a large sort of rumbling and banging sound, and the earth kind of shook.
A crash.
Yes. And in fact, it did turn out to be a crash.
So Mosling rushed towards the crash past B, who stuck around outside the theatre. And there was a ship that had grounded itself on the bank of the Thames with sailors rushing off it. Mosling bravely rushed onto the ship and descended down to see what had caused this incident. And there was a big kind of like cave-in or kind of like dent in the hull of the ship on either the port or the starboard side, depending on how we felt about it. So the ship had took some damage from a kind of sea serpent-shaped object, and I got off the ship, told the captain to come find us the next day for information, and that's a thing. That's what I think I told them. That's basically the whole thing.
Yep. Lovely, thank you. Let's bring on Steve, who plays Henry Bonneville. Hey, Steve.
Hello.
So the reason that you all were where you were was that you were trying to follow up on a lead about a Rachel Brown, who is the person believed to have given the Spiritus to Gladys Pugh.
Yes. So although the Spiritus, so Gladys seems to be doing okay at the moment, but we have no real way of knowing whether that's going to work, whether that's the absolute solution to a particular case. So thought it would be wise to follow up and find this Rachel Brown. We knew that she was a member of the Drury Lane Theatre, so had gone there. I was in the auditorium. That's mysterious. I was in the auditorium B, and Mosling had been outside. The plan was to follow her home. The crash distracted Mosling, who rushed off as previously described. But B and Henry managed to tail Rachel towards her home. And this was all going very well. B was leading. Henry was following B some distance behind until a figure sort of revealed itself, sort of stood in front of Henry, absolutely looking dead at him. B was oblivious to this and had gone and actually found the place. But this figure was way too familiar. This is a figure that has been essentially sort of haunting or maybe hunting Henry for some time. So his his will somewhat shaken, he decided to leg it, basically. B did find the residence and discovered that Rachel seemed to live alone. I think there might have been some more salient details, but okay, cool. Yes, so B then noticed I wasn't following anymore, rushed back. The figure had gone, we weren't being followed, so somewhat shaken, Henry headed home with B.
Thank you. While this was going on, sadly Sam can't be with us this evening, but Hooks back at the house actually had an interaction with the fairy that has been almost following Mosling around the house in one sense or another. Try to sort of lure it out and have a full conversation with it, and then seemed to have some kind of dust blown in his face, and had a vision that he believed was of what the fairy wanted to happen, which was essentially to be best friends with Mosling. Let's bring on Inga, who plays Constance. Hey, Inga.
Yeah.
Yes, please go ahead.
Things much better for Constance. She's been chatting away with Gladys and helping her out with things, and it's going well. Gladys got excited, found she had a peek at her Spiritus in the little box, and normally it's all loud and angry and scary, but it seemed to be sort of restful, asleep, not all shriveled and everything. But it looks like progress is being made on that front, so little win there.
Yeah. Lovely. And let's bring on John, who plays B. Hey, John. Yes, a little bit of research for members of the group on various things that are going on.
Yes. So Henry did some research on fairies and found that there's precedent for fairies taking to certain humans. In folk tales, it's been romantic, but I guess platonic besties is also possible. Constance did some research into werewolves and found that they seem to be resistant to most weapons, but that they seem to have a bad time with silver. B didn't do research. She went to go speak at a cupboard door behind which a fairy pretended to be asleep. And Mosling looked into the newspaper the morning after, which has reported that the ship hit like a mini trash island that had formed in the Thames, and that it had hit it so hard that part of the assorted rubbish had been knocked into a nearby sewage sluice. And then there was a knock on the door, and the captain arrived, and his exact words were, "So you think it's one of them, do you?"
And that's where we left it.
Remind us, Jonny, what time was this morning? Now this is breakfast. We're all kind of down for breakfast. Was that right? Because this is like the next day.
Yes, that was correct. Yeah.
And did Mosling warn us that the captain was coming? Yeah, he did. Okay, so we're expecting company. We're good. Sorry. Hello. Excuse me. One of what? Sorry. Hello. Good morning.
Yes. Good morning.
Between us, I guess.
Sure. A creature that's not what other people would think of as an animal or human.
Do you see many of these things when you're sailing?
Are you people who are going to mock me for my answer to this question?
No.
Great. Yes, I was captaining a ship once, which ran aground of something, sank. All of my crew drowned, and I was saved by what I could only describe as some kind of half human, half fish.
Saved.
And yes, dragged up to basically near a beach and left to float ashore. I have been laughed off ships before for retelling this tale, but it's what happened.
We don't
Forgive me,
doubt it.
I'm very rude. I'm Captain Jeffrey Wilkins.
Well, I introduced myself.
Yeah, go around the room, I guess. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
We are involved in handling creatures like this when they come to our attention. This one, I say, pulling out the photo that I've got of the sea serpent. This is what we think attacked your ship. It's responsible for the death of a man earlier in the week, and has been seen before on the Thames, we believe.
He's sort of looking intently at the image. Yeah, that was it.
We also believe that people are very unlikely to believe these stories, and all in all, our ability to handle them is compromised when there's too much attention on them. Things become a spectacle, and ultimately, things get in the way. So I'd say taking back my photo. But privately and quietly, we can hope to deal with these issues.
I've no interest in being laughed out of any more offices for telling the truth about these things, so you don't need to be concerned about that from me. Can I help?
We have an idea, or a semblance of an idea, of how to deal with this thing. We know some things about its preferences, some of the dangers involved, but ultimately, it would be best to deal with it outside of London, or some way quietly. Certainly, whatever way we choose to deal with it, we're going to need a boat of some kind, and possibly a captain.
I'm currently out of service, so I'm at yours.
That's good to know. We know that the creature has a fondness for pork, which is from our archives.
He raises an eyebrow.
We know, but we also know that it is quite dangerous. I look at the others and say there are suggestions about ways that you can deal with them, although I'm partial to seeing if we can't fill the thing with explosives.
I'm not sure
But
which would be the more dangerous, and I'm not, but I certainly know which one draws the more attention.
do you have
We
any
need to
questions
find
for
the thing
us?
first, though.
Yeah.
Did you see it? You said you saw this thing then, Captain. Did you see which direction it went in? Are the recent reports accurate? Well,
He glances
other than
and
being
sees Sorry, go on, Inga.
so other than being rubbish, as opposed to a creature, obviously.
He glances at the paper on the table and says, "Yeah, it did go off into one of the tunnels.
I think really the challenge is going to be how do we hunt it without drawing attention to ourselves? We can't really do that on the Thames, can we? Is it likely
I
to?
think Well, most
Elsewhere?
people don't really pay much. Most people don't pay much attention to what others are doing. I think the main issue is that reporter fellow.
Well,
So
yes.
as long as we can keep him busy, but otherwise, I think most people are just too busy going about their own day.
Reporter?
Hux would tell you most people just don't really pay much attention.
What reporter?
So Bradley of the Times, who's a rather unlikable fellow, who we are trying to keep close. And as the old adage says, keep your friends close, but your annoying reporters closer. But not too close.
Close to the distraction is perhaps more useful. He put out the report and some image a couple of days ago. He's taken an interest in this particular incident. But I think we can otherwise keep him busy.
I wonder if it was him that I spoke to earlier.
Can we get a description of the chap and see whether he recognises?
Highly abrasive. Clearly thought a lot of himself. Came knocking on my door at 6:30 this morning.
Sounds quite familiar.
When you say you spoke to him, what did you discuss without learning his name?
Very little, sister. I told him that all I knew was already in the morning's paper. Sent him on his way. As I said, I've been left out of enough offices, but I knew what I'd seen.
I think perhaps today, especially if this reporter has come and met you, Captain, and you've come to us here today, I think we will need to worry about him. But I'll turn to the others. I think today might be a good day for me to go out on a little day trip with Gladys. Perhaps today's the day to pop to the hospital and be the first ones out the door.
Are you happy that you won't have any surprises?
She's been showing very good progress, and things seem to already be improving. But I certainly think that Bradley would be intrigued by us, some new person coming out along with us and where we might be up to. I think it could serve as a useful distraction. But no, I think Gladys has been showing very good progress, and I think it would be good for her in any case. I was thinking about doing this soon. I think she needs to demonstrate her faith and her trust, and our trust in her. That I think that's important for the process. So I think it's good to do regardless, and I think it serves as a useful additional purpose here. Hopefully.
I'd keep a close eye on her if I were you. Still worried about
I
her
will.
sneaking off.
Jonny, I presume we've had no response yet from Lady Spence. Any letters of that nature?
Not yet, although
I've lost track of time,
nothing's
to be
been
honest.
delivered yet today. So there could still be something on the way to you today.
I will pour the captain a cup of tea.
He gratefully accepts.
Sorry, Captain, do you have any particular knowledge about these tunnels, these gate, where these tunnels, there's sluice gates where they all sort of lead off to? Is that information we're going to have to find elsewhere?
I don't really, I'm afraid, sister. Outside my remit.
I think we ought to do something there if we're going to be able to track this thing. I don't know if you have any particular skills, Captain, that might aid us in tracking this creature. And I think it's probably worth giving you the full information about what we believe this is if you're going to help us with getting rid of it. But yes, otherwise I think that's really the thing we have to do is track it down. That otherwise we can't really do much unless we know where the thing is.
Tracking, maybe not so much, but trapping, I can assist with, I imagine.
Excellent. Mr. Bonneville, do you know would there be some sort of records of the plans of these? Have you ever had to investigate this sort of thing before? Is there a place where we could go to scour through some records or plans, blueprints, city plans?
I'm sure there'll be something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mosling
Yeah,
may
you think-
know some things like this with his weird interest in infrastructure.
Oh yes, that's actually Mr. Moslin. Perhaps this is more up your line of interest.
Potentially in the library, the British Museum, there might be some records. I don't know what museums are. It's Victorian period. There's shit tons of museums available right now. They love museums. Can't get enough of museums. So yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Well, perhaps Gladys and I can go along after we've been to the hospital. If assuming things go well, it might be a bit of excitement for her. Maybe I best bring her back here first, but I think we could probably do that today. Perhaps meet up with some of you. I don't know if there's any other lines of inquiry that you're pursuing for anything else.
We have a adjacent case to pursue. Several, but I don't know
guess
if you want
a
to.
key question is how we keep Bradley distracted this time. I'm surprised he hasn't turned up here already.
Well, he may well be here and just watching to wait and see where we go. I would quite like to take a quick look and probably make a little bit of a show of, bundling Gladys away very discreetly, and probably looking a little bit suspicious. I think we've probably got good odds of him trying to follow along. Sorry, Captain, is there a way we can get in touch with you? Obviously, we need to track this thing down. I suppose we'll need to do that and then maybe get back in touch about where you can step in then with trapping and such.
He writes his address down and passes it over. This is where you'll find me.
I imagine it must be making a home somewhere. It can't just be. Yeah, there must be a point where it gravitates towards. So perhaps if we can find that, then we will be better placed to arrange traps or to formulate a plan. So yes, maybe if we can find out information about the sewers and the tunnels, perhaps we can begin to investigate.
Do you know anything at all about its movements thus far? Anything that suggests a pattern, or?
I don't believe we do. It's only been, I think there was a sighting, Jonny. There was a sighting the night before the attack took place. The person was dragged into the river, wasn't there? But there's been nothing we found before that point.
I might sketch out the tidal theory and ask for this captain's thoughts on it.
What you do have as well is the three instances that you have. So the sighting, the guy being taken, and the ship being hit into are working their way upriver, basically, like to the west.
Okay. So we could kind of extrapolate that and aim ahead of it.
He, with regards to the tidal theory, says, yeah, could be possible. It's happened before with such like dolphins, which wouldn't normally work their way in here, but under certain circumstances it can happen. No reason why it couldn't with one of these creatures, I suppose.
Yes, when we are talking about this creature, what we believe it to be is a sea serpent. They seem to be reasonably large. You may have heard of these sorts of things in superstitions of
Like
sailoring superstitions, I suppose.
Like the Leviathan from the Bible, you think?
Possibly. I think I would be a little wary of wanting to draw too many. Well, in any case, what we believe from the research that we have outside of the good book, of course, is that they are roughly however long big they were meant to be, and I've forgotten off the top of my head now, however many meters long, and that they have a sort of some sort of hallucinogenic effect, some sort of
Hypnotic effect.
hypnotic effect. Thank you, Mosling. And essentially, this business with the pork. I know you scoffed a little, but as you said, you've been mocked for believing in some of these things, and sometimes they do sound a bit ridiculous. But apparently, it's rather fond of pork, pig meat, and we believe we may be able to the advice to trick it into biting its own tail. So, if that's what you're happy to sign on for, when you say you'll help us trap and deal with this creature.
If it's hurting, potentially killing people, then of course.
Right. Well, I suppose we'll be in touch when we've got. Well, the plan is maybe too strong a word, but yes, we've got an idea of where this thing is.
Very well. I shall make myself scarce. Pleasure to meet you all. He sort of vaguely bows on his way out.
Sorry, Captain. Do you have a boat, or would we would still need to acquire? I suppose if you were captaining the boat that went down yesterday.
I can access something.
Right. Very good. Yes, sorry to keep you.
He heads out. Steve, can you make me in fact, no, it's fine. Maybe later.
As we walk him out, can I make some sort of check to see, like, to do a bit of a peek through the door to see if I can spy any sign of a potential reporter out there somewhere?
Yeah, sure. I would say probably investigation. I think.
I have nothing in investigation.
Hang on, let me check. Let me check the specifics on vigilance. Oh, in fact, I'd say it's vigilance actually.
Vigilance is better. I've got a 3 there. Yes, I'll take vigilance. No successes.
Okay. Are you sort of peering out through the keyhole, or are you actually like opening the door to let the captain out? And
yeah, like actually opening the door to let him out and say goodbye. So I'm actually like looking out the door rather than like through a keyhole. Yeah.
Okay. You don't see Bradley, but you do see sort of some movement at the corner of like a street that you're not convinced is not somebody ducking away. So yeah, not 100% either way. But it wasn't like you looked out and he's definitely not there. Go on, Justin.
I was going to ask, who was it that was training for running that we could unleash? I think it was Hux, wasn't it?
I think
Get
it was
him,
Hux,
Hux.
yeah.
Me as well.
Sadly. Well, I'm not going to be shouting, get him, B. Not going to happen.
So I suppose the other side, the other potential, rather than trying to find this creature, or perhaps in addition to that, is we need to find a suitable place to try and trap it that is maybe a little more discreet or otherwise less dangerous for other people. Maybe we don't need to worry too much about finding its exact location if we can lure it to the place that we want it to be, assuming that that's close enough. But I suppose if we're doing some research into the location and the sewers and everything, then perhaps we'll still find that right spot. But
Yes, perhaps we can
Yes.
find some sort of side connector, side stream that we can lure it into. I don't imagine we'd have much success stringing nets across the Thames, but yes, if we can find a location upstream that we can lure it into, that sounds like a good call.
And I suppose we ought to buy some pork.
Well, that should be one of our easier tasks, happily.
I suppose so. Are there any objections to me taking Gladys to the hospital first, but then perhaps to the museums or libraries and seeing if we can find any of the plans and things? I think that's probably sufficiently unexciting enough for Gladys that it won't be too. It should be too much for her, and I don't think there is any danger of the Spurtus still being present. Hopefully, isn't too exciting or relevant for it in any capacity.
Well, I suppose. Go on, B.
I think that sounds like an alright idea. Hospitals usually have chapels in them as well, don't they?
Yes.
So if worse comes to worse, you've got Sanctuary. And if worse comes to worse, then
Perhaps we could arrange for a friendly carriage to be nearby, just in case.
I think sorry, Jonny, is this all right for me to suggest that Hux comes along as well? I think Hux would maybe
Yeah.
want to come along for this. But I think he'd be more up for it maybe than something else. You said there were other potential. You did have some interest then in some other this business with Rachel, and is that something you're looking to pursue, or this thing with this creature, this possible werewolf, Mr. Barneville? Oh, and there's still this fairy.
Everybody looks at Mosling.
Well, I'll be out of the house anyway and researching these tunnels, so the fairy can't wait.
The
We need to trick it, that's right, don't we?
fairy, sorry.
one of the
Yes.
suggestions.
Yes.
Well, we need to try this pathway business again. I obviously haven't found the right pathway to deal with the bells and the holy water. But I'm a little bit at a loss as to where else we might be looking for fairy pathways.
I think the fairy might be lower on the list.
I do agree.
How about Bonneville, you and I will go and investigate this, Rachel. And then if you see any dark looming figures, you let me know. And we'll shift course. Unless you've got a better plan for tracking this person thing down. But it sort of seems like the only way to find them is to let them find us. You.
Jonny, has it always been the same phase of moon when I've seen this creature? Would I know?
No.
Okay.
No. If you're thinking back, you would note that the original instance was a full moon. And in fact, now, could you make me a vigilance roll now that we're talking about this? Thank you.
That's 5 plus 3 dice. 2 successes.
Okay, you see one of the papers out of the corner of your eye has been left sort of slightly open. And there is a bit in the weather section, which basically says that while people may have been amazed at the brightness of the seemingly full moon last night, it's actually tonight that is the full moon, and the sky may be even clearer.
Oh, great.
You love to hear it.
Well, be at least well, yes. At least we'll have a clear view if whatever it is appears again. I would really rather not meet it in a populated place, to be honest with you. I think again, getting out of the way and somewhere we can control the environment a little better would be best suited. But well, with the sea serpent around, we can't really afford to waste too much time if more lives are threatened. So perhaps I should take my gun with me just in case.
Yes, I mean, bear in mind we still need to find this thing and be able to trap it and everything. There is some time. Don't forget. Sorry, I'm just going to say it again because I can't remember, Jonny, if I the exact timings, but because I think it was last night that I was reading on the books. I did read some things from the books that I took up yesterday. That apparently silvered weapons are much more effective against these creatures when they are in wolf form. They're otherwise very resistant to normal kind of weaponry. So we ought to see if there's something like that, something that's more appropriate for you in the weapons corridor or space or what have you, the armory. Make sure you're properly prepared.
Jonny, just to check, do I have, because I know equipment doesn't necessarily carry over between adventures, so I think from the initial one there were a number of bullets in that case. Silver bullets, but
I'm happy that they've stayed with you.
Okay.
Like, I know that, like, mechanically it's questionable, but I think narratively, how would I explain that these things had gone? So
Yeah,
I don't see any reason. Yeah, exactly. I don't see any reason that they would have gone.
Can't you make a roll for it or something? Isn't there like a roll you can make to try and locate things that have been lost in the gubbins of the house? Anyway, never mind.
Yeah, I'm more than happy, especially because you've done the weapons corridor. I'm kind of like, you have a space to store these things, so I'm more than happy that has carried over.
Cool. So I think I only fired 2 shots in that first. So I think I have like 4 bullets, maybe.
I think that's
silver
right.
ones.
Yeah.
I'm sure that'll be fine. We don't need a a whole belt of ammunition, do we? That would be.
Probably not. Shall I head off to go do some research then?
I
Would
guess
you
so.
like
Do
to
we have
join
any?
me? Would you like to join me and Gladys? We'll ultimately be heading towards research.
Certainly.
Do we have any plans for dealing with the journalist at the moment, or do we just hope we?
Well, I think if he calls, he's probably sounds like he's already talked to the captain, and so we can just tell him that we've talked to the captain, and then tell him all the things the captain put into his story, and that way we won't tell him anything new, but we'll be telling him what he already thinks he knows.
I think if we put him on the trail with me and me, Hux, and Gladys, then that ought to keep him busy for some time while you go and pursue this business with Rachel. And I don't think he'll gain anything of interest or of use from following us along to the hospital or to the archives.
I certainly
I
hope
think
not.
I'm hoping it will be of enough interest to him to see us, with a new person. And as I say, we'll try and do our best to look very secretive as we kind of come along, and try and make sure we're not being followed. Yes, I hope that'll distract him.
Very well, then I guess we have some form of, plan seems a bit strong, but activities to carry out at least.
With Rachel, then, are you intending to speak with her today?
That is, I guess that's a question. We could just confront her. Now we know where she lives, we have some time to. She can't just disappear completely. But it would be a bold step. Usually,
do we need to verify that her name is actually Rachel Brown? If you have her address, can we do some other sort of investigation? Is there something you can do to find out?
Well, we can certainly, yes. There'll be standard records we can look into.
I just wonder, if she is actually somebody else and she disappears, if she's spooked by you confronting her, then we've sort of lost the trail, haven't we? But if we actually know who she really is and her other connections and such, then it may be harder for her to truly escape once we confront.
Yes, that does seem sensible. Perhaps we can fit in a trip beforehand. B, do you have any thoughts on the matter?
I mean, my urge would be to not give her the chance to disappear, but that largely depends on what she's going to be like. I mean, we obviously need to talk to her at some point. But are we confronting her as if she's done something wrong, so she'll flee like a guilty person? Or are we... I don't know.
It would
I don't
be
know
nice
what
to
her
find.
role in this is.
It would be nice to find some sort of some evidence we can use up front, but short of I guess we could find some way of being invited into her residence under subterfuge and look around. I hopefully she doesn't know who we are. But
Miss Mosling, you seem to end up finding yourself having party invitations whenever we start investigating and doing things like that. She's a little well-to-do and things as well. Perhaps you've got a good chance of somehow getting to know her, or I don't know.
I mean, what's our ultimate goal here? Is it to work out who gave her Aspertus in the first place?
That is a yes, a very important question. I'm sure Gladys would like to know why. Well, perhaps we know already why Rachel chose her to hand the Aspertus onto. To check that Rachel was indeed the second. recipient.
And if she wasn't, if she was the first, then I mean, more so than ever, this really is all her fault. And I think knowing where it really originates from would be incredibly valuable knowledge, so we can make sure that it doesn't happen again, or we can put a better stop to these things, update the records. And
Indeed, yes.
I don't see any problem with confronting her myself. Perhaps it'd be best to not do so at the same time as Bonneville, in case one of our approaches doesn't work. We could try the other approach afterwards.
Yes, indeed. Yes, if you were able to, make acquaintance with her in some way and find out a little more of her background, her interests. I do wonder whether she has further connections with Vaesen. How did she know to hand the Spiritus on? Was it purely the Spiritus telling her, or did she have some idea of what to do beforehand?
Maybe Hux has some connections who could break into her house and find out.
I think charm before crime.
I think we have three levels of approach, three approaches here.
Charm first. Seems reasonable.
I mean, I think, although purely from a practical, though not on a moral standpoint, if we were going to break into a house, that would be the best method to try first, because they should have the least amount of awareness of the situation. But that's just a practical consideration, not an ethical one.
Well, I of course do not condone any form of crime whatsoever, but if you befriended this woman and you believe she lives alone, then I would think that you being out and about with her would actually first would be the better thing to do. But I obviously do not think we should be breaking into anybody's homes. I trust that you can get any information that you need, Mr. Mosling.
So, is that? Would you like that to be our first approach, for me to try and talk to her today?
If you are willing.
Okay. Well, I can do that after I have looked up tunnels in the library.
Well, I'm going to go and give Gladys the good news that we're going on a little day trip today. Perhaps, Musling, if you're planning to end up at the museum, then we'll meet up with you there later on. But I think we should be the first ones out the door, or perhaps you can join us getting into the carriage to start off with. Then we can. I'm assuming that there's a hospital that I've probably been to that's maybe near enough the museum that we can get off at the same point and make our ways.
Yep.
Yes, and then I'll head up and go chat to Gladys and see if she's up for coming out and doing the plan.
What do Bee and Bonneville intend to do during the day then?
Well, I can do some research into what records, what sort of public information exists on Rachel Brown. So there's a suite of, so that's something.
And I could case her house, see if there's any further movement or any other signs of anything.
Any unlocked windows?
When we have the time, we should also commit the captain's story to the records, see if we can do any research on fish people, and see if his story obviously will be a valuable insight if we or any other future members of the society encounter these kinds of creatures in the future.
It is interesting to hear his tale that he was assisted by. Apparently, at least.
I mean, it was obviously a very traumatic event. This entire crew died, and he's the only sole survivor. But it sounds like he got stranded on some poor beach somewhere. I don't think that creature was probably the cause of the whole accident to begin with. But he has to believe what he has to believe. That's completely understandable, of course. But I think he is most likely mistaken.
Every eventuality is possible, isn't it? Right. Well, we should record that story when we have a time when things are less busy, lot of things going on.
4-way party split.
Wow. What could go wrong?
It's fine. We've all got mobiles. We can communicate. Oh wait.
Oh no, all the batteries are run out.
Okay, so Constance, Mosling, Hooks, and Gladys all set off together. So let's deal with Constance and Gladys and Hooks first. So do you think that you would have somebody that you spoke to at the hospital, like, about these things anyway?
Yeah, and by these things, just normal charitable work kind of things.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think we'll spend a bit of time, giving out some scarves, and maybe just reading to some children. Gladys said, that was something she could also do. So yeah.
Do you want to make a vigilance roll as well for if you see Bradley sort of following you? Okay.
No successes.
Okay. Yeah. As far as you're concerned, and as far as Hooks is concerned, there's no journalist following you. So yes,
That's
you get to the hospital.
I have faith.
Gladys is getting, completely involved in the work. And are you going to like a children's ward? Was that the plan, or were you going? Yeah. So yeah, she's completely involved in the work, and you catch, sort of, you overhear her essentially sort of to the a couple of different kids saying, "Oh, would you if I were to come back, would you like something knitting, a hat, perhaps some gloves, a jumper?" And like basically the kids are sort of putting their orders in for knitted warm clothing. It's almost winter, so it's
Poor Gladys has no idea how long it takes to knit a jumper. She'll learn. I also like to think that Hux is also involved, like is also just sitting and listening as like we're reading stories and stuff. I hope he's like really enjoying that because he can't read as well. That he's just sitting and getting the bedtime, not bedtime story, but yeah.
Yeah.
That's my hope.
Yeah. Can you make me a vigilance roll, please, Inga, for Constance?
No successes.
Okay.
I'm super tempted to push, but I think I won't because I feel like vigilance is one of those things where like I don't know that I'm necessarily doing it, so I'm not like trying extra hard.
Well, you have faith.
Is that? Yeah. Who needs to pay attention when everything's going to be fine?
I guess it depends on, is it a thing that you think you'd be paying like super close? Do you think it's a sort of thing? I mean, you don't know until you know the role. But like, is it the sort of thing that you might conceivably do a double take on?
What I will say, Inga, is that are you reading to the kids?
Gladys is reading to the kids.
Okay.
I think. So I'm mostly there to facilitate Gladys being the one doing the stuff.
Okay, so what happens is you are kind of paying attention to the group of kids, and you kind of see that Hooks is, quite happily sitting there, and then you kind of glance over at Gladys, and when you glance back, you think there's one less kid there than there was. But like the door hasn't opened or closed or anything. Hooks doesn't seem to have noticed anybody passing him.
Are there 12 kids in
You-
this room?
You're not sure that there was another kid there, but then it just feels slightly, like one of those puzzles where you get told afterwards that there's one thing missing from the picture. It's kind of like that feeling that there's, yeah.
It's probably fine.
I think I'm going to try and get like that. That's probably enough for now. I think perhaps it'd be good to head to the chapel for a little break and a little follow up on the studies for a little while. It's quite enough excitement, I think, for now. We'll come back and finish up the next chapter perhaps later today.
A couple of the kids go, "Aww," and as does Hux, I think, and then catches himself and kind of.
Does Gladys move to back with me to the chapel?
Yeah, she's like, "Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
she
fine."
does.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh man. Oh.
Probably hiding
Okay,
under
I'm
bed.
gonna
or
go.
just-
I'm gonna go into the chapel and think and contemplate there. I'm trying to think like there's gonna be someone on the wards who can I can chat to, who I'd know, who could tell me how many kids there were and if everyone's okay and stuff. But I'm wondering whether that's best to do now and leaving her unattended, or whether it's better to come back later. Oh, hey, I'm gonna say it's a hut.
So just to clarify, there is no way that Gladys did anything to a kid here. Like there's no way that she has anything to do with whatever has happened in this scene that Constance
Magic and
has
devilry.
envisioned. Sure.
Yeah. I'm gonna wait till Gladys is, back in the swing of things in the chapel, and ask Hux to keep an eye on her while I just step outside quickly. And I will try and flag down one of the other sisters on the ward or someone like that who I can speak to just ask a bit about the children and how many kids there are, how long they've been hit. Like try and make it just sound like, general chat about the kids and what they're in for, or that kind of thing. And yeah, just try and figure out how many there are meant to be, and yeah, that kind of info.
Sure. Yeah, you speak
Yeah.
to one of the nurses, and did you kind of do a quick count before you left the room so that if you got a number from somebody, you would know?
Yeah. If I felt like that was one too few, then I would know how many there were at that point. Yeah.
The number is correct.
Okay. And I guess I'm just slightly on highlight. Like, yeah, I don't, it's not necessarily a role or anything, but I think I'm just going to be generally kind of a bit like keeping an eye out for anything else that just looks off in this hospital for the time being.
Okay. And you're heading to the chapel with Gladys.
Yeah. So I've left Gladys in the chapel, and I've just stepped out for a couple of minutes to check in on that info, and then I will join back up and then suggest, once we're done there, that we head to the archives.
Everything all right, Sister Constance? It's Gladys.
Oh, yes, I've been here a few times, so I just wanted to speak to one of the other nurses and just check in how they were doing and how things were on the ward.
Good. Does feel nice to be doing kind things for people.
Yes, no, it's very, very good work. I'm glad you've enjoyed it. Yes. I think you were taking quite a few orders, though. I think you've got quite a lot of knitting to do by the sounds of it.
Yes, well, as they say, the devil makes work for idle hands. So, well, perhaps not a smart thing for me to. Anyway, yes. Good to be busy.
It's a very tight-lipped, stern, slightly nervous, kind of really not a smile from Constance. Right, on to the archives then, I think, next.
Cool. Let's cut to Gale. So you were going to a museum?
I was going to go to like the library. I don't know if there's like the British Library. I don't know where these institutions were established, but a large library in London and a museum in London, if needs be. Libraries are the first place I'd go to look for municipal records / city records / things that show where sewers are.
Okay. Yeah, sure. You wander in to the library, and you are met with a tall, slim, stern-faced man with spectacles, who says, "Morning, sir."
Morning. Who do I know this person? Assuming I've been here before.
Yeah. Okay. Let's say you do.
Then I'll have the smallest amount of small talk.
Yeah. You know that he's a very sort of, he's a not very chatty person.
That's good. I'll still do the small talk.
Yeah.
I will ask him. I'll basically present a list of books, some of which will be on the sewers and things. Others will be about other general infrastructure features, just in case someone comes asking about things that I've been looking into. Then it won't be obvious that I've been looking into sewers specifically. And I'll say it's for my next book chapter, and asking for these books, where they are, etc. Then I'll go read some.
I think when you say it's for your next book chapter, he's sort of looking down the list and he kind of raises one eyebrow as you say that. And
it's going to be a good one, yes. I can tell you're excited about it.
And kind of hands the list back to you, and says, "Do you want to come with me, or shall I get them for you?"
Oh, I'll come. Surely by this point. Never mind. Let's go. Let's go find some. I might see some books along the way that I would like to bring.
Quite. And he sets off. And you kind of work your way round, and he's passing you the books as he takes them off the shelf. Some of them he kind of knocks a little dust off the cover. They're clearly not frequently perused books. And some are more sort of folders or like loosely, they're not like print books. Some of them, they're kind of collections of papers. You get them all together, basically. Can you make me a learning roll?
Yeah, I'll give that a go. So that'll be that. These will be those. All together, that's 7 dice, and I rolled a single 6, which I am going to push to get 2 successes. And I'm going to become, I don't know, probably frightened. There we go. That's good.
Yeah, okay. You think that you get enough information about this sewer system to be able to sort of, and I'm also happy if you want to have sort of traced some schematics for the layout as well. And then I think as sort of the reality of you potentially being trapped in this, system with a creature of this size, when up until now, when you've been dealing with it, obviously you've been on the land and it is in the water, but this is, you're going to be in there with this thing in the dark, in a reasonably closed system. Yeah, probably dawns on you. Are you looking for anything else in there other than, or in any of the other books that you're looking at?
Can I go over the tale? Can I just grab a copy of the Odyssey and remind myself of how Odysseus deals with the sirens, because I know the story's in there somewhere, and I'm trying to remember how Odysseus. I think he fills his crew's ears with like wax or honey or something. I'm not sure. I'll have to Google it. But
I think it's wax, but yes, you can find that information out. That's fine.
good. And I'll go like I'll part that way of like maybe. I think they're definitely there may have been piglets involved too. That Steve's put in the chat, but I'll do that. Is there anything else?
That's fine.
Is
I'm
there
happy for you to
anything else
get
I
that
want
as
to
well.
research? I don't think so. I think that's everything. Unless can I also do a quick roll on mermaids, not knowing they're called mermaids. Given that the sirens are kind of mermaids.
Are you
or not?
I think that you would be more likely to be able to find relevant information in the house library rather than here.
I'll bear that in mind.
So, but yeah, you've basically. I'll give you. If you want to note this down, I will give you an advantage if you are rolling for like stuff in the tunnels to do with layout and dealing with the creature in there. Let's cut to B and Bonneville.
So we'll retrace our steps towards. Oh no, because you were going to look up information on her first, weren't you?
Yes. Yes. Now that
sort of public records office kind of.
Basically. So yeah, are we going to split up? Are we doing the looking out for the journalist thing again? You don't want a journalist following you, do you?
Not really.
No. Okay.
In general, but also today, I think.
Yeah. I guess I'll go to my usual haunts for sort of background checks on named people. We have a name, we have an address. So I'll start working that side of things. Yes, and sort of proceeding fairly openly, whilst again attempting to see whether I'm being followed either by a journalist or anything else. I did actually. I forgot earlier. I still have hopeless checked as a condition, which would have affected it would have affected the number of dice in the roll previously. But I think I got multiple successes.
You got 2 6. Yeah.
I'm gonna walk with Henry to the records office as long as it isn't in the opposite direction, to also make sure he's not being followed by something with more teeth than a journalist, and then I will go to Rachel Brown's.
I mean, there are these two problems here. We could, if we're lucky, perhaps they'll one will propose a solution to the other.
Maybe
get the werewolf to fight the sea serpent. Is that the...
I was thinking.
No, get the werewolf to fight the journalist, and then wrap the fairy in bacon and feed it to the sea serpent.
Look, we don't need a journalist.
What a thought.
Do you want to both make vigilance rolls?
Yeah. Do you think I could apply my Bloodhound to this, which is +2 vigilance when tracking prey?
I don't think so.
That's fine.
You're not following any, like, if you're following somebody or like, like when you were watching out for Rachel, like, I'm fine with that. But I think this is kind of like you're on the move and just seeing if anybody's watching you.
In this case, we're the prey, I think, potentially. I got 2 successes with 7 dice.
I got no successes.
There is nobody following you. For both of you think there is nobody following you. Just
One
to
of us is.
clarify.
Oh,
We
we're
are
both
in
wrong.
agreement.
Okay, so Henry is going into the public records office. There is somebody on the desk that you know. He says, good morning, Henry.
Good morning.
Can
yes,
I? What can I help you with today?
Oh, some of the usual research. I have some names to look up, a few details to check.
Well, you know where everything is. Shout me if you need anything.
I will do. Thank you.
Can you make a learning roll?
Sure. Now, I think as I sit down and start going through these books, I will out of a pocket fish out. It's the red cap tooth that I picked up from the first adventure, which is now my memento. I swapped my previous memento with this one, and I'll be sort of fiddling with that. It's clean. I washed it. It's okay. As I do the research, and therefore get rid of that hopeless condition, if that's all right.
Yes. Yeah. Fine.
So
proof that you have been able to deal with a nasty before now.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that will be back up.
Nasty as well.
Mm.
Very relevant.
Yeah. There's a learning roll, right?
Yes, please.
I'm back up to 8 dice. No successes.
Is it non-Steve? Okay.
No successes.
You find her birth certificate. So you've got her date of birth and her age, and parents. You look both of them up and find that they've been deceased for a few years. Sort of when she was about 20, they both died. They don't seem to have had any other children. That's all you really find. You don't find any other sort of known associates or anything through this research.
No membership of secret societies or...
No, just the theatre.
Oh, well. I mean, at least we know that her name is Rachel Brown. So that's...
Yes, she does. I mean, obviously there's no photo ID, photocopies or anything like that to, prove that the person that you have seen is her. But certainly, you don't have any reason to believe that this doesn't relate to that person that you have seen. Yeah.
And no unexpected death certificate.
No.
Cool. Well.
John, where was B going to Rachel Brown's home?
Yes.
Okay. And was Henry going to go there once he's done?
I don't think I was, no.
Okay.
No.
I think no, but that maybe Mosling was? Was that the plan, Justin?
I was planning. I think the plan was for me to head to the home to, I don't know, knock on the door and introduce myself.
Okay, so B gets to the house. Are you simply observing for the moment?
Yeah. I think I will try not to stay in one place for too long so as to look suspicious. But a bit of watching out front, a bit of wandering around back to look for possible points of entry for other people at a later point.
Just in case there's a fire and you need to get in to help.
Yes.
While you're at it, look for kindling.
Can you make, I think an investigation roll is probably the relevant, please, John?
Yes. Investigation. That is one success.
Okay. So, as I said, this is like a sort of terraced townhouse road that you're on. And it does have around the back. So you kind of cut around the whole, bit, and there's sort of the alleyway around the back. And these homes do have that sort of basement entrance as well around the back. It's up to you if you want to try the door, but it's something that you could imagine maybe forgotten to be locked potentially. And there's no sort of padlock on it or anything that's visible from outside. So that's a possible entry point. From your time spent here, you don't think that she's in at the moment. The curtains are all open. And there is a ground floor window at the back and a ground floor window at the front, as well as the front door. So the front, but they are up some steps. So the sort of basement level, the type where it's like almost half the floor is underground, and then sort of the ground floor is like up some steps, like out the front of the house. So it's that kind of setup. So whichever floor you want to be on, there's stairs to get to it. So yeah, but back sort of basement door, ground and window, and then ground floor, which is slightly above ground level, door and window.
Okay. And you say she looks to be out.
You have not seen any activity in the home at the moment. She could be upstairs, but
I'm pretty sure I know what Hux would do, but I think I will stay where I am.
So the front window you can see is like a living area, as I think I said when you were there the night before. So she's not frequenting the living area, and it is the time that people would be at work. So there is a good chance that she's out, but you can't confirm it.
Right. In that case, I will wait further down the road, so that if she walks down the road, she doesn't see me staring at her house like a weirdo. But I want to keep an eye out to see if she approaches, and I'll wait for Mosling.
Okay, cool. So yeah, a little while passes, and Mosling arrives down the street. I presume you're waiting at the sort of at the end that you had come into the street, so where you would presume Mosling would come in.
Yeah.
So yeah, you see him sort of walking up.
We might be out of luck.
Why's that?
I don't see her in there.
Maybe she's in. She's having a nap. We could just knock on the door.
Me?
We could pretend you're selling something. Could look about you for someone who sells something.
Thought you're supposed to be the charming one.
I don't know where everyone has got this impression from. I can't be seen selling things, unfortunately, because it would be difficult to maintain that many personas with this woman.
How else are you going to sell your book?
That's a good idea. I should think about that. Door. Never mind. I'm not certain. I think the only way to move forward is to work out something about this woman, and if she's not in, then maybe we can either. I think we should just go and knock on the door. I think you should go and knock on the door and see if she's in.
All right. I'm not Hux. All right. Let's make this clear right now.
I know you're not Hux.
Good.
I wouldn't send Hux to sell something. No one would believe that he has things that are worth buying.
I'm gonna go knock on the door.
Okay. You knock. And a minute passes with no answer.
Right. I'm
Good.
going to go and try the back door. That is like the door that is. What is it? Was it a back door that was supposed to be open, or maybe?
Yeah,
open?
it's sort of like a
Backdoor
basement
basement.
back
Yeah.
door.
I'm
Yeah.
going to try it.
I'll go with you.
Okay. You try the door. And it doesn't immediately open, but you think maybe it's just stuck.
I give it a. I got to lean with some pressure on it and see if I can, without like kicking it, just see if the gentle application of pressure opens this door.
And a little sort of wiggle, maybe little.
Yeah. Just to, nothing loud.
Okay. A couple of sort of leany shoves, without. So not a barge. There's no impact, but a couple
no.
of sort of.
I want to maintain believability that this door was open all along.
Yeah. A couple of those, and it does shift.
Cool.
The window that is here is sort of grimy, and there's not much light going into the basement. It's obviously not frequently used. There are some plant pots in here. The kind of stuff that people might keep in a garage now is basically what's in here, sort of storage and you can see some stone steps going up to a door, which you assume takes you into the main hallway of the ground floor.
Right. Well, I might be either you can go through this place and I can keep watch, or I can go through this place and you can keep watch. Which would you prefer?
I trust your ability to distract someone more than mine.
But then that's fine. Let's get an idea of what this person is like. And if you run into anyone, just say the door was open and you've come in to tell them that they forgot to lock it. It was ajar. Anyone could get in. Right.
Anyone did.
I will. If I hear anything, I'll rap on the door or a window or something.
All right. Now we'll head through the upstairs.
And I'll head back out to keep watch.
Okay, you open the door to the ground floor, and you are in a hallway. There are 3 doors leading off this hallway, and then there are you kind of come out of a door, and to your right is like the stairway going up behind you almost, to your right hand side. You can see the front door, so you know that the door as you're looking at it, to the left of the front door is the living area. And you can see there's a door almost like next to you, which goes into the kitchen. And then another room behind you, which the door is very slightly ajar, and you think it may be a bathroom. And you think, kind of spying through, that you can see an indoor toilet.
Very fancy.
Witchcraft.
I think if I had something to hide, I'd probably keep it in my personal rooms upstairs. And I'm also thinking so that if someone came back, I wouldn't want to be upstairs at the time. So I'm going to check upstairs first and then come back downstairs to the ground floor.
Cool. Is Mosling moving around to the front of the house, or to keep an eye on like a returning person, or are you staying around the back?
I think
do the same.
I think the front, but I'd like if I can keep a view of, if I can choose the best place for a view of as much of the house as possible, then that would be good. But yeah, the front I think is more likely the route of return.
Yeah, so because it's like a terracey street,
I suppose, yeah.
you can't get both sides. Based on the fact that the door was very difficult to open,
I think that's probably not
it's
the way
almost certainly unused. So yeah, you definitely think that the front is the most likely method of approach. Okay, B goes upstairs. It is like a 3-story townhouse. So on the first floor, there seems to be some kind of secondary like parlor room. There is another room which seems to be a kind of library, reading room. No bedrooms on this floor, so I assume you go up again to the top floor.
Yeah.
Where there are 2 bedrooms, one which seems to be a spare, and another one which you would assume is Rachel Brown's room. It has a 4-poster bed. Everything in this house is quite lavish. For somebody who lives alone, and you don't know what she does for a living, but like I think B, as a person of this time, even somebody who has removed herself from society somewhat, would be aware that for an unmarried woman, this is quite quite extravagant. So yes, are you going into her room and poking around?
Yes.
Okay. Can you make an investigation roll for me, please?
Yes. I literally just rolled it. Why have I already forgotten what it is I roll? That was no successes.
Is it the kind of thing you'd push?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to give you an option here, John. So make the roll, and then I'll give you a choice.
Okay.
Oh dear. I've been tracking muddy footprints through the house.
That was 2 successes.
Okay.
And I am
Wait.
Right. Oh.
No. Either you can take that, or you can leave some evidence that somebody has been here. Not you specifically. There'll be nothing to say that it's you, but there will be. And I will do the narrative depending on which you choose.
Let's go for it.
Evidence. Yeah.
Oh God.
You said it now. You said
I
it.
Is
said
that
it, yeah.
your
No,
final
that's
answer?
Okay, cool. You find some photographs. So you find a photograph of Rachel Brown in the typical Victorian thing. They're not smiling because it's harder to hold a smile than it is to hold a straight face for however long it takes to take the photograph. But you see her in an image sort of arms linked with a woman that is not Gladys Pugh. And then you also find a picture of her arms linked with Gladys Pugh. They are dated on the back. the dates are written. So the date on the one not with Gladys Pugh is earlier than the one with Gladys Pugh by 6 months, roughly. Did you get 2 successes?
Yes.
Yeah. You find a letter which seems to be a response from the bank, which essentially says that they would be delighted to take her as a client, and that they are overjoyed that she has improved her fortunes significantly. And yeah, that's all you find.
Okay.
So the bits that you found were they took you a while. They were sort of, kind of tucked away in a drawer under some other things. The drawer wasn't locked. This is her home. She wouldn't feel the need to lock them away, but they were tucked away under other things at the bottom of a bottom drawer in a bureau kind of thing. So you're probably aware of the time at this point.
Okay. If they were underneath stuff, then I'm going to assume she's not going to immediately miss them. And I'll leave the bank letter, but I'll take the photographs.
Okay.
And I'll head back downstairs. I do want to have a quick look in the library, not to definitively search it, but just, is it a normal library or is it like Rose House's library? Does she have books for like Spurses for Dummies kind of thing?
If you're having a quick glance, rather than an investigation, make me a vigilance roll. If you're just casting an eye round, we'll say that it's vigilance.
That was no successes.
Okay. It's definitely not Rose House's library. There are a couple of copies of the Bible, different translations, and then what you think is a combination of like fiction and non-fiction things. At a quick glance, you can't get specifics of what any of them are. But yeah, it's certainly not, witchcraft for dummies or anything like that kind of thing.
Okay. And roughly how long have I been in here by now? Like, it took me a while, you said, right?
Let's say between 10 and 15 minutes.
And what time of day is it?
Morning. 10? Like, if you're working on the assumption that she's gone... Right. You may have gone under the assumption that she's gone to work. However, does she need to work now that you've got this information? Like,
if she's just had spectacularly good fortune.
So you may think that, the sort of like 8 till 6 or 8 till 7 or whatever, like that may not apply in this situation.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I will leave at this.
The way that you
I think
came
I've
in.
got- yeah, I
No.
think.
Go on, Steve.
Johnny, yes. When John made the roll earlier, was the leaving evidence to avoid a condition, or was it picking between conditions? I wasn't quite clear on how you're going to handle it.
No, I was saying that if he left some evidence that somebody had been in the house, he wouldn't take a condition.
Cool.
And as it happened, John chose some evidence that he had been in the house. Like I was going to come up with something, but now he's taken the pictures, so that's the proof that somebody's. So that's worked out fine.
Fine.
It's fine. It's fine.
Okay.
GM, fine.
So you head back out through the down the stairs into the basement and out through that door. And then Mosling sees you wander back into the street.
Well,
Uh,
good.
Yeah, I think good. She might not be at work though, so thought it best not to stick around.
Mm,
Found a letter from the bank that she'd had some good fortune, which was
wander
one
off
of the
then.
things for the first and second, wasn't it?
Worth noting that letter response is between the date of the first
Between the
picture and the
photograph.
second picture. Yeah.
Yeah. And I found these, and I'll show him the photographs. That's Gladys. That and that are Rachel. So that's
this
number
is
one.
someone new. Probably, possibly. Any indication of who this number one is? I say, like, indicating we should get walking. Walking and
Oh.
talking.
There was a date, but no names written on it.
Well, we have a face. Now we just need to put a name to it.
And it looks like a professional photograph. So can we ask?
Well, I look at it. I mean, very amateur. But I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying, B. Yeah, I could ask around, but well, fantastic. Well done.
Thank you.
It's a nice.
Good job getting that door open.
Well, to be honest, I've been a bit on edge ever since I've been reading this about the tunnels and worrying about what might happen to us down there, and I don't know how well I'd be able to concentrate on rummaging through someone's house.
Is everyone congregating back at the house after all of their respective duties?
I think Constance was going to go to the archives as well to look at sewer stuff. But I think being a bit shaken by the stuff at the hospital was going to suggest that maybe we head to the butcher's to pick up the pig and drop that off at Rose's house first. And so then if others are back at Rose's house by that point, then maybe won't head back out to the archives, but otherwise might do. But
cool. Yeah, I think if you arrived back and you discussed what everybody had found, I think if you discussed with Mosling what he has, you might decide that there was no need.
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Cool.
And we'll apologise to Hawkins and assume he can find somewhere to leave this entire pig carcass in a suitable spot.
Keep it cold, and we might still use it.
One way or another.
Yes, of course.
Yes.
So you're around midday now, and Hawkins, after he's washed his hands, offers lunch.
Bacon.
So he brings you all some soup and bread. Still no Rupert or Eleanor. So you haven't seen them around. Like, it's not unusual for them to go away, but you haven't seen them for the last couple of days.
Any post?
Yes. With the lunch. Who wrote to? Who was it actually addressed from?
I wrote to Lady Spence. That was a telegram. So that, yeah, so I would have sort of, signed from the society, but I would have put my name on it.
And in that, you had said what had been going on and that you were concerned about, that maybe the content of the letter to her might be not to be believed precisely.
Yes, that we were trying to determine whether Gladys was speaking as herself or as the Spiritus, I guess. So yes, warning Lady Spence that Gladys would be writing, and if she could report back with any irregularities.
Okay, so the telegram comes back and says, "Dear friends, nothing to be concerned of in correspondence from Gladys. Please keep an eye on her. I shall visit soon. Esme."
Right. If I have the opportunity to show that around when Gladys isn't there, I will do so.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, when Constance Hooks and her return, she kind of makes her apologies and says that she has to get started on a large number of jumpers, and disappears off to the, like, assuming that you're happy for her to go through the house alone. She disappears off, otherwise Constance takes her and comes back.
Well, I think once I've shown the letter to people, assuming they're happy with it, I will then burn it, just to avoid.
Yeah.
What did you find at? Did you manage to speak to Rachel, or?
I didn't really find too much. She seems to be well, she is called Rachel, but some basic details, but nothing astounding or revelatory, I'm afraid. How about you?
I exchange a glance with Mosling. We didn't get to speak with her.
She left the door open, so we thought that she
Yes.
might be inside, and she wasn't inside, so we took a look around.
Rather forward.
Well, we had to see if we could find her to tell her that the door was open.
I will pray for you this evening, Mr. Mosley or Smark.
Why do you know this? How do you know this wasn't B's idea? I mean, it wasn't B's idea, but that's neither here nor there.
I produce the 2 photographs and lay them on the table and point out the dates.
You look at the pictures, and you obviously all spot that Gladys Pugh is in one of them. And then as somebody kind of moves that one off the top of the other one, and you see this unknown person with Rachel Brown. unknown to all of you, apart from Constance, who recognizes her as someone from her church. And we'll leave it there for the week.
Wow.
Which church? Oh, no, that's so crazy. Which of the many churches that Constance is now involved with?
Well, that saved us a job, I guess.
Amazing.
God damn
Cool.
it.
Constant.
Oh dear.
That
was good.
Thank you for watching. Any questions or comments, please put them in the chat. We will do XP now. Let's do... Oh no, there's going to be a spoiler in this. This is awkward. Did you participate in the session? Yes, that's one. Did you confront any Vaesen? No. Did you identify a previously unknown Vaesen? No. Were you affected by your dark secret? Yes, for Constance. Did you take risks to protect other people? No. Have you learned anything? Yes, quite a lot overall. Did you develop something in your headquarters? No. Did you perform an extraordinary action? No. So learned anything? Yes. Participated? Yes. So 2 for everyone and 3 for Constance.
Wow.
Let's do promo stuff. Links below the stream to our YouTube if you're watching on Twitch or vice versa, our social media, our Discord, which you should join and come and chat with us, and our Patreon. So if you enjoy what we do and want to support us, you can do that through there. Oh, and we are not going to be on next week, but should be back on the 22nd. So a 2-week cliffhanger.
Spent a fortnight. That's and dropping a cliffhanger way ahead of 10 p.m. That's extra spicy. That is. That's caught us all by surprise, I think.
I can't wait to hear Constance's reaction to this.
Well, Inga's got 2 weeks to plan it.
Oh man. Okay. Scarier than a fairy peeking over the top of the cupboards.
What? What world is that true? In what world is that true?
I'm beginning to realise why this arc is called Loose Ends now. B. What dark secret of
So it's something to do with Jack.
Who's Jack?
What's Jack? What's the name of your kid again?
Adam?
That's so mossling. That's so mossling.
What's the name of my kids again? Jack's the name of my kid. Obviously, that's why I mixed them up.
Just in method acts on
Jack
stream
the lad.
here. Justin has to not remember anybody's name to be properly in character.
I don't remember anyone's name ever, so I'm already one step ahead. Every single session, we go the reporter, and I go back like as many pages as I can through my book to find the name of the reporter.
I have real problems. Like other names are fine, but I need it on a cue card up on my screen. I think.
Is it because I've given him 2 first names?
Yeah,
probably.
I can't remember his first name. I just remember Bradley. I don't remember what the actual first name is. He's just Bradley now in my head. Does it begin with an A? An Alfred or Albert? Or
He's Albert. Yeah,
Albert. Okay.
we have a real problem in that because there's a thing offline where we keep getting Gladys mixed up as Florence because of Florence Pugh. And in my head, whenever we call the journalist Bradley, I want to go, oh yeah, the journalist, Bradley Cooper.
Any questions or comments, John?
I liked this one from 4242. She might have been in distress with the door open and all.
Yeah.
followed by the immediate comment after that, which is that's the excuse the police use.
Very good.
That's good.
As
When
I
someone
like
says
this other
half-fish
one.
person, I think of fish-headed scaly man, the opposite of mermaid, which brings Ariel to mind. Yeah.
Or Red Dwarf style.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Why would you have it the other way around?
That is. Oh no, I forgot to check for follows and the like.
Oh dear.
Thank you for the follows from Carax, Fiend Riot, and Get That Rabbit.
Thank you. Cool. So Simbaroom is on Wednesday, and then this Sunday we are doing the Bat Out of Hell theatrical RPG extravaganza.
Cool.
And I, for one, am very excited. That'll be 3 p.m. BST now. BST. So if you are not in that time zone, then please Google for translation to your time zone. And yeah, hopefully see you then. We're not on next week for Vaesen, but we should be back on the 22nd. So see you at one of those things. Bye-bye.